The College Football Playoff Committee sent the message loud and clear on Tuesday night. They want the ACC to be a one-bid league.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So first batch of CFP rankings came out on Tuesday night. The SEC's got 6 in the top 13. Also in that top 13, 3 Big 10, 3 Big 12, Notre Dame, and goose egg for the ACC in the top 13. This is our lives. I'm Alex Donno, host of Locked On Canes. He is Kenton Gibbs, former NC State defensive lineman and co-host of Locked On Wolfpack. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On ACC your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. We'll take a look at possible Week 11 football upsets within the ACC. Are there any wrong team favored situations, if I can borrow that from Lee Sterling? Will the ACC be just a one-bid league in the CFP? How do we avoid that? And Kenton, all right, so I'm putting the rankings on the screen here. Debut CFP rankings. I mentioned no ACC team in the top 13 right now. What stands out to you most about this field?
I mean, just what you said. No ACC teams in the top 13. There are multiple teams in the top 12 that leave me desiring more, that leave me questioning, how is there not an ACC team in front of you? There are some teams up there I've got no argument about. Ohio State has been a buzzsaw. Indiana has been a buzzsaw. Texas A&M has been a buzzsaw. Alabama lost to one of our worst. And everybody keeps saying, well, you know, they were on the road. They were breaking in a new offensive coordinator. They're breaking in a new defensive coordinator. They're breaking in a new quarterback. Donno, with the exception of being on the road, was Florida State's quarterback from last year their quarterback that tried out to start that game?
Absolutely not. He was in Chestnut Hill last year.
What about offensive coordinator? Was Gus Malzahn there last year?
No, he was in Disney World coaching UCF last year.
What about defensive coordinator? Did they retain their defensive coordinator from last year?
No, Tony White was in Nebraska last year. Now he's at Florida State.
So all the excuses that I'm hearing for Bama, except on the road, which, by the way, Donno, you're the bet degenerate on this show. How much is a road versus home versus neutral site? How many points is that supposed to account for?
It's about 3.
And how many points did Florida State beat Alabama by?
14.
Oh, okay. All right. Just making sure. So Alabama being up there where they are, Notre Dame being where they are, Texas being where they are, Oklahoma being where they are. I have so many questions about all of these teams, all of them that are in front. Some of these teams, I give them their full love, reverence, and respect because I cannot make a legitimate good faith argument to put you behind some of these ACC teams. But some of these folks, I mean, if only Notre Dame and Louisville had a common opponent, Donno. If only they did. Maybe then.
If only Miami and Notre Dame had a head-to-head.
If only, Donno. If that were to happen, if we lived in a world where that were to happen, we could perhaps, methinks, we may be able to decide who should be ranked where based upon that. Especially, Donno, if there was a world where Miami and Notre Dame had the exact same amount of losses and Miami had a head-to-head win over Notre Dame. I think, again, methinks that would mean that, Miami would be ahead of them, especially Virginia and Louisville. If we're saying, who is Notre Dame's best win? A win over number 20 USC? That's it.
Right. Yeah,
that's it. Last time I checked, both Virginia and Louisville have better wins than that. What are we doing here?
Yeah, so let me run this top 25 down for the audio listeners, the CFP top 25. Tennessee Volunteers 25th. I don't even know why they're on there, but they're on there, right? Pitt 24th, Washington, Mizzou, Michigan 21, Iowa 20, USC 19, Miami 18, Georgia Tech 17. I'll get back to them in a second. Vanderbilt 16, Louisville 15, Virginia 14. That's it for the ACC, by the way. Utah 13, Oklahoma 12, Texas 11, Notre Dame 10, Oregon 9, Texas Tech, BYU, Ole Miss. Then your top 5 is Georgia at number 5, Alabama, Texas A&M, Indiana, and Ohio State. And so, okay, the message that this thing is sending to me is the College Football Playoff Committee valued head-to-head in every case except in Notre Dame's case, right? Because I would strongly argue that if you're going just based on pure resume, Georgia should be ranked ahead of Alabama. But since Alabama has the head-to-head win, the committee said, well, logically, we've got to rank Alabama higher than Georgia because they beat them on grass, right? Same deal with Texas versus Oklahoma. Like, I don't feel like Texas belongs anywhere in that top 12, let alone at number 11. But they wanted to put Oklahoma at number 12. And the committee said, well, you know what? By gosh, who has a head-to-head victory against Oklahoma? Texas does. So we better rank Texas ahead of Oklahoma with the same number of losses. But then you have 6-2 Notre Dame, who have a head-to-head loss to 6-2 Miami. And not only is Miami ranked behind Notre Dame, which Kenton, I was not surprised by. I don't have to be happy with it, but I wasn't surprised because the committee goes more based on vibes than data. And the vibe has been Notre Dame has been surging lately. Miami has been faltering lately. So, like, I understand the way the committee thinks on that. I don't have to like it, but that's just the way that they do this. But still, they value head-to-head for everyone else. And yet, despite Notre Dame and Miami having the same record and Miami having the head-to-head win, Miami ranks 8 spots behind them. And then another one, Kenton, you touched on this earlier. Why is Louisville ranked 15, 5 spots behind Notre Dame, when Louisville has a better overall record, 7-1 versus 6-2? And Louisville has a win over a team that Notre Dame lost to in Miami. And Louisville's number 15. And Georgia Tech at number 17 pisses me off. That team has 1 loss, and they dropped them down to number 17. The ACC is getting no respect.
My question is this. How do you both? I can understand one or the other. I honestly can. I can understand one or the other in terms of Notre Dame being in front of Virginia or Louisville. I get it, right? If you want to say, well, the common opponent means something, and Virginia, you lost to NC State, Notre Dame dominated NC State, okay, fine. But then by that same common opponent theme, would Louisville not have to be in front of Notre Dame?
Exactly.
Because they're common opponent.
And that's why I didn't complain about – that's
Dame.
exactly why I didn't complain about Virginia being where they are, but I did complain about Louisville being where they are.
Somebody, it has to me, you have to be able to say, this is sensible, this follows this track. Like I said, Notre Dame's best win is over number 20. That's just a fact. That's just a fact in terms of the ratings right now. Louisville's best win, even if you're saying, well, it's not about where they were, it's about where they are right now. Quick question, Donno. Where is Miami ranked right now?
18.
Is 18 better than or in front of 19? I'm sorry. Notre Dame's best wins against number 19. Is 18 better than or worse than 19 in terms of rankings?
I mean, if I learned to count when I was
better,
like
right?
4, it's better, yeah.
Okay, all right. So we're all on the same page that Louisville's best win is better than Notre Dame's on paper, right? We can all agree to that. And Louisville has less losses than Notre Dame. And if you look at the full resume, you can't make an argument that Louisville has played a much softer, more malleable, easier schedule than Notre Dame. You just can't in terms of played and won, because anybody can play the big boys. Anybody can go play Texas A&M and get their heads kicked in. Does that make you good? I mean, we're still waiting for Marcel Darius to throw or Marcel Reed rather, to throw for 300 yards against a team not named Notre Dame, and that's in the Power Four, or that's in that stratosphere. So I don't understand it. And this is no hate to Notre Dame. This is just the facts are the facts. If Notre Dame was an ACC team and they were getting this same love, I would have the same gripe, because it's not about whether or not Notre Dame is an ACC. It's not even about ACC teams in general. It's about, are these teams getting a fair shot based on what we have seen on the field? Lou Holtz ain't walking through that door. Jerome Bettis ain't walking through that door. Rocket Ishmael ain't walking through that door. I'm sorry to tell you. JOK ain't got no eligibility left. They don't. So to see that we're somehow saying, well, this team's been the better team because they've been the better team, and they're the better team just because they're the better team. But based on what? Based on what? Because it's not even like you can make the argument of, well, Louisville and Notre Dame have the same record. And, no, they actually don't. Louisville is a one-loss team.
Yep.
They're a one-loss team. So, and then in order to place Louisville behind Notre Dame, you'd have to play Inception, where you say, well, Louisville lost to Virginia, who lost to NC State, who was dominated by Notre Dame. But then you could do the same thing in terms of, well, Virginia beat Louisville, who beat Miami, who beat Notre Dame. So it all comes back in the wash to say the math does not math for having Notre Dame where they are. And again, this is why I say bring the computers back. Bring the computer, bring back the BCS, keep the same number of teams, keep the playoff, but get these bozos out of this room where they're sitting down and saying, well, we're not going to judge by recent success. Well, why is Miami so far back? They haven't had recent success. Yeah. Well, what the hell are you talking about? So you are judging by recent success.
That was exactly what they said. All right, well, it comes down to a fundamental question that the committee does not want to admit or answer, but we'll tell you what that question is. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Folks, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. For your next listen, check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone host Locked On Wolfpack. I host Locked On Canes. They talk all things NC State. I talk all things Miami. All right, so, Kenton, you brought up that circular logic, right? That, well, your recent success doesn't matter so much. It's about the resume. What about Miami? Well, they haven't been good recently, right? The playoff committee, it's very obvious, and it's why and listen, let me say this from a Miami point of view. I want to make this loud and clear because, I cover Miami on Locked On Canes. I have no illusions in thinking that Miami should be a top 12 team right now. Like, I was not expecting that. I have an issue with where Notre Dame is placed versus where Miami is placed. That's my issue. I understand that in losing to SMU this past weekend, Miami had an opportunity to control their destiny into the college football playoff. They blew it, and now they're in a situation where even if Miami wins out, they're going to need some help. But with a number 18 ranking, they're going to need a lot of help. But as we saw, KG, 2 years ago, when Florida State, and by the way, a lot of this stuff seems to affect the ACC, when Florida State earned their way into the college football playoff, because by resume, you couldn't argue 13-0 season, conference championship. This was back when it was a four-teamer, so you didn't have, guaranteed conference champion bids. But Florida State earned their way into the college football playoff, and the committee kept them out of it because their quarterback broke his leg, so they decided this team's not going to be competitive in hypothetical scenarios, right? Hypotheticals, this team won't be competitive. They won't be entertaining. We need to put the most entertaining products on the field. So the secret is already out. It's not about what you earn, Kenton. It's about vibes. It's about perceived excitement. TV ratings. It's about getting certain brands on TV. You always want that leprechaun on TV if you're the college football playoff committee. And so I wish they would admit that that's what it is, that they will throw the data right in the garbage if the data does not serve their agenda. You're the big CFP lobby. Hit your mute button.
They surely did. But quick question, Donno. Let me ask you this, okay? You said the highest ranking ACC team in terms of the CSP ranking is where?
14.
Where do you think the highest ranking ACC team is in terms of strength of record? Just out of curiosity, where are you thinking?
I don't know. 10?
13. 13.
Ooh.
You've got Louisville at 13, 2 spots in front of Notre Dame. Again,
Ooh.
let the computers decide this. Let the computers decide. I've had enough. I've had enough. With all due respect, and this is no disrespect to any of these people. This is no disrespect to any of these people. What the hell does Condoleezza Rice know about college football?
Is she still on the committee? I wasn't sure about that.
I don't think she is. I think it was a one-time appointment.
Yeah.
But you get the point, Donno. We have people on the committee that we're asking ourselves, and this is not to be sexist or misogynist, because I don't believe that a lot of these men are properly qualified either. I really and truly don't. I'm tired of hearing, well, these guys and these gals are sitting down watching every team play. No, they're not. No, they are not. These people have real full-time jobs and lives, and you're not going to tell me that they're sitting there watching 20-plus hours of college football just to watch the top 25, right? At this point in the season, Donald, we'll assume that there are 4 to 5 matchups that are top 25 against top 25, right? So 4 to 5 matchups, that means that you get 10 games that are, 4 to 5 matchups, that means you get 10 teams. So that's about 30 hours right there. If we average each game at 3 hours, let's even be generous, say 2.5. Okay. So now we're looking at 25 hours because you've got those teams out the way. And mind you, I just said 10 teams. You still have 15 segments of 2.5 hours left. Are y'all watching all that ball? No. Let the computers decide it. Let the computers decide it. That's what I'm saying. Let the computers jumble up the numbers, however they do it, whatever algorithm they want to do. We have AI now. We have AI. We're stripping water from communities for the stuff. Let the computers do it. Okay? This is ridiculous. ESPN's own metrics are saying that Notre Dame should not be there. ESPN's own metrics. And yet, when it comes down to it, you and I both know Louisville Cardinal contingent, Notre Dame contingent.
Ooh.
It ain't really close, is it? Virginia contingent for football, Notre Dame contingent. Hold on, wait, Donno. Let's get really crazy with it. Miami contingent or fellow 2-loss team that has much worse losses than Miami, Texas contingent.
Yeah.
What's going on? Who's
and by the way, since you brought up Texas lost to Florida. You remember who Miami beat third week of the season?
They lost to a Florida team that went on to fire their coach.
Yeah.
They lost to a team whose coach is now hey, Billy Napier, come on, answer the phone. We've been calling you to come join Locked On. Okay? Come on. We called you LinkedIn Billy for the last year. Now you can be Locked On Billy. You got a better ring to it than LinkedIn Billy. And so again, we can use this, this team beat this team to justify Notre Dame. There's nothing else you can use to justify Notre Dame. There's nothing else you can use. There's nothing else you can use to justify a lot of these teams. And at least with Texas, you can say they've got some really great wins on paper.
Yeah,
you can say they got some great wins.
Notre
Dame, what are we doing? Their best win.
It's weird. Yeah. It's weird because like Notre Dame fans are more like, well, hey, look at our losses. Like they're propping up their losses because Miami was top 10 at the time, and Texas A&M is obviously really good. So our losses are great. So all right, so I wanna get your take on this because my fear as someone who backs the ACC through thick and thin is I look at no team right now ranked higher than 14. I'm just afraid, Kenton, that the only team that's going to get into this college football playoff is the ACC champion. And even coming in second in the ACC, not going to be good enough. Are we looking at a one-team field right now with nobody ranked high? The ACC's going to get a team in because that's the way the CFP works now. Whoever wins the conference championship is going to get in, but will anyone else sneak in?
Here's the thing. In a more equitable and fair world, we would absolutely be at minimum a 2-bid league. At minimum.
Yeah.
But in the world that we live in, where, as Wu-Tang Clan once said, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bills, y'all. We're going to see Notre Dame sneak on in. We're going to see.
For sure.
We're going to see this committee force Texas down. You know, we're
probably gonna see 4 SEC teams in the playoff this year. They only got in 3 last year. They pitched a fit about it, and ESPN always caves to the SEC pressure. I think they're getting in 4 this year.
But Donno, of those teams that were right on the brink, did they do well in their bowl games? Did any of them do well?
No.
Of those teams that were right there on the brink, South Carolina should have got in. Didn't they lose to Illinois?
Yeah.
Alabama should have got in. Didn't they lose to Michigan?
Yep.
And they couldn't complete a pass over 5 yards. Yuck.
Yeah.
Again, it's so sad to me because I figured it out, Donno. I figured it out. They've conned us, and it's been in front of us all along. It just means more is the saying for the SEC. But here's the actual saying. It just means more money. That's what it means.
Yeah.
That's
Amen.
what it means.
Yeah, they didn't specify more of what. What is money.
Yeah, and Donno, I saw it. I saw it the other day. I was at the ESPN headquarters because the ESPN headquarters ain't too far away. I saw it the other day.
Oh, yeah.
I said, oh, no, not this on my accidental trip to Bristol, Connecticut for no reason. Why are these documents laying out? The SEC, it just means more money because there's no way to justify some of these teams being where they are. And Notre Dame falls in that exact same pit. They really do. They fall in that exact same pit of, even though they're not an SEC team, when it comes down to those playoff games, there's nothing Notre Dame can do.
Because ESPN loves, like, they have limited opportunities to cash in on Notre Dame because, like, Notre Dame, they have their TV deal with NBC, so they're on NBC a lot. But, you know, so whenever they can get Notre Dame on ESPN wants to milk it.
Oh, of course. And that's my point exactly. It just means more money. It's so sad.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to see the state of college sports in general where that's the deciding factor. Because let's be honest, what else is there to say? What else can we look at and say, hey, this team is good because of this? This team is good because of this reason or that reason. If we're saying that an early season win or loss does not matter, and it's about recent success, who the hell has Oklahoma beat? Who have they beat? Michigan has turned out to be a flop compared to what everybody thought they were going to be. Auburn does not have a head coach anymore. Tennessee is the only team that you could say, oh, yeah, you know, they were a ranked team, Donno. You know, that was a team that was right there. That's it. And where's Tennessee ranked, Donno? Where's Tennessee in the rankings?
25th.
Just out of curiosity. So their best win as of right now is 25th. And how many losses does Oklahoma have, Donno?
2.
And their most recent loss was when, Donno? It had to be at the beginning of the season, right? They start off like Notre Dame. They're just like Notre Dame, right? They lost really early and got hot, right? It was about 2 weeks ago. Yep. And again, you're going to tell me that the ACC, it doesn't matter, right? The ACC, it doesn't matter who you beat and when you beat them because you didn't beat the big names. Oh, UVA doesn't have the same name as some of these other teams, so beating them doesn't matter. Oh, you know, Georgia Tech doesn't have the same name as everybody else, so it doesn't matter. Because I'm going to tell you something, Donno, and I mean this not to be a homer, but to be very real about the situation. If there were an SEC team that had 4 losses to this point in the season, but they beat the top 2 teams in the SEC, do you think they'd be ranked? They'd be hanging on to the top 25 by the hairs of their chin, but they'd be in.
They would be.
Meanwhile, everybody looks at you like you've got three heads if you say NC State belongs in the rank category. So again, it always just means more money, because this is a sin and a shame that we're sitting here arguing about, well, how many SEC teams can we get in? When again, if you put these teams up in terms of their resume, in terms of who they've beaten, who they haven't beaten, plenty of teams that are very far and very well behind the ACC end up way in front of them. And again, this is by what we've seen and who's lost and who's won. And even if we use the computers and say, well, there are teams whose record is not as good as, or whose record is much better than their strength of record would imply. Well, okay, but you know who the greatest merchant of that would be? Unfortunately, I hate this for them, and this is no disrespect to them, but that would probably be Utah. Utah right now, strength of record is 23rd. Their strength of record is 23rd, and yet they're ranked in front of all these ACC teams. So again, the reality is the ACC is getting disrespected at a clip that is just flat out ridiculous.
Well, let's get into, when we come back, Week 11 ACC football slate. Who's pulling off upsets this weekend? You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on Locked On ACC. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. Alex Donno from Locked On Canes, alongside Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. All right, so Kenton, let me go through the slate for this weekend in the Atlantic Coast Conference. You have noon on Saturday. SMU is an 11.5-point road favorite against Boston College. 3:30 on Saturday, number 18 Miami is a 28.5-point favorite against Syracuse. Miami needs a bounce back. Syracuse needs to complete a forward pass. It's been that kind of year since Steve Angeli got injured. Duke against UConn, not a conference game, obviously, but Duke is favored by 9.5 points on the road at UConn. North Carolina, 7.5-point favorites at home against Stanford. I'll be looking at that one as a possibility. 14th ranked Virginia, 6.5-point favorites at home against a tricky Wake Forest team. 15th ranked Louisville, 20.5-point favorites at home against Cal. And Clemson, 2.5-point favorites at home against Florida State, which tells you that one's a toss-up. I don't even know if I would call Florida State winning that game an upset if they do.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely a situation where this slate is not filled with a ton of really good potential upsets. Obviously, if Boston College or Syracuse were able to pull it off, that would be massive. Those are huge ifs. Those are huge ifs, right? Everybody else in this week, I don't think that there's that big of a deal. And I do want to point out something to you, Donald. You said North Carolina over Stanford. You don't believe in North Carolina to win that game.
Is it on the CW?
I was just about to say, guess what station it's on?
All right. So North Carolina by 50.
I'm sorry to tell you, Donno. CW stands for Carolinian wins, baby. You can't put these North Carolina-based teams on the CW. It's going to get hairy for you. I'm sorry to Coach Wright. I despise both of the Bills. Don't like either one of them. But the reality is, you put a Carolina team on CW, you get what you get. Okay? You get what you get. Who was playing on the CW when they upset SMU? Wake Forest. NC State started off their all-time record on the CW as like 6-1 or something like that. They got in 6 wins before they lost 1 or 5. One of those two before they lost the game on the CW. I don't know what it is about the CW, but teams from Carolina take the super soldier serum as soon as they see Trevor Scales and company walk through the door to cover that game.
So on some of these, I think SMU will probably beat Boston College by more than the 11.5 they're favored by. Miami favored by 28.5 against Syracuse, and I know like Miami fans are so down on the team. I'm getting comments like, "Oh, Donno, we're gonna lose to Syracuse. Just watch." And I'm like, "Listen, have you seen Syracuse? Have you seen Syracuse? They have a freshman walk-on 4-star lacrosse player, not a 4-star football player, a 4-star lacrosse player playing quarterback now for them."
I know you saw that game against North Carolina like I did.
Yeah.
Did you hear anything about that young man's football playing ability from the
No, I don't even think he picked up a football till Saturday.
Donno, I kid you not. I'm sitting here like, now wait, did he pinch a field? Did he pinch a football field in high school? Because all I heard was He's a great lacrosse player.
Yeah.
He's coming in one of the best recruiting classes in lacrosse in the nation. And I'm like, now, wait a minute. He's a starting quarterback. Has the kid thrown a forward pass? Has he done a lateral? So. What type of offense did he play in high school?
He hasn't handed off, I don't think, either.
Donno, I'm sitting up here like, did he come from a football powerhouse? Did he come from the middle of Nowheresville where they stink at football? Tell me something about his career in football. And they're like, yeah, when he picks up that stick, man, he's a real tricky guy. Liable to get a hat trick at any moment. I'm sorry to tell y'all, wrong field. People actually care about this sport, with all due respect, lacrosse. People actually care about this sport in the millions. Let's talk about that.
I've bet on lacrosse before.
Call that lady, Donno. Call that hotline. Call that hotline right now. But no, seriously, I don't think and I told everybody that this Florida State and Clemson game was going to have no relevance on the ACC picture coming down the stretch. I just was wrong about the reason. I thought that Clemson was going to be so far out in front of everybody else. Yeah. And Florida State, I predicted Florida State being where they are this year. I knew that they were going to have packed in the season by now. I couldn't have predicted both teams would be there. No. I mean, oh my Lord, both of these teams are fighting for a bowl game.
It's so bad for Clemson right now. I actually think Florida State's going to cover and win that game by more than a touchdown. Like they looked good last week at least. Like I haven't seen Clemson really look good all year. I mean, I guess they were close against Duke. I know it came down to a controversial call, but I don't know. I think I'm picking Florida State to win that game and cover. Like the only one. Okay, is there any chance in your mind? If this was on the CW, it'd be automatic, but it's not. It's on ESPN. Do you give Wake Forest a chance to upset number 14 Virginia? Because I'm still not really buying in on Virginia being like a true CFP contender. I feel like they're going to drop a game again.
I think this is not the game for them to drop. I think they win, but they don't cover. I think Wake Forest gives them a good fight. They give them a good scare. Robbie Ashford legacy game, loading. DeMond Claiborne legacy game, loading. Those two are going to put on a show, but I think that defensively, Wake Forest just doesn't have the pieces, and this is going to be a race to 50, and I think that Virginia ends up with the ball last. But to your credit, Donno, for calling out this game, I would not be shocked. This would not be the biggest, what? They won? I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Well, we appreciate everybody making Locked On ACC your first listen, and it felt good to vent about the CFP committee a little bit, but you know what? There's still like 4 weeks of football left, so we'll see. May the chips fall where they may. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. Make sure you follow him at TGIF_Kenton on X and on Locked On Wolfpack. Follow me at Locked On Canes and at Alex Donno on X, and we'll talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.